Pork is the most consumed meat on the planet. For millions, it's the ultimate comfort food. Sizzling bacon, slow-roasted ribs, holiday ham. But to others, or maybe to you, pork triggers something completely different. A deep, visceral sense of wrongness you can't explain. It's not about nutrition. It's not a diet trend. When you smell pork cooking, you feel nausea. When it's on your plate, there's a persistent ick that won't let you take a bite. Pork isn't just food you dislike, it's a psychological barrier. And the truth is, your aversion is a complex intersection of evolutionary survival instincts, your brain recognizing animal intelligence, and the genetic quirk that makes pork smell like something else entirely. Welcome to Food and Psychology. Today, we're breaking down the psychology of people who hate pork, and why this particular meat triggers stronger aversions than almost any other food. Let's start with something most people don't know. Your hatred of pork might be written in your DNA. Pork contains a specific steroid compound called androstenone, found predominantly in male pigs. Here's where it gets fascinating. To most of the population, androstenone has either no smell or maybe a mild woody scent. But for a significant percentage of people, a specific odor receptor gene called OR7D4 is dialed to maximum sensitivity. If you have this genetic variation, pork doesn't smell like food. It smells like intense body odor, stale urine, or a harsh chemical cleaning agent. This isn't about the pork being bad. Two people can smell the exact same piece of fresh pork and experience completely different chemical realities. To one person, it smells savory and delicious. To you, it smells like a biohazard. Your brain is literally flagging the scent as a toxin rather than a treat. This is why someone can be obsessed with bacon while you find it absolutely repulsive. You're not being picky. You are smelling a different compound that they cannot detect. When pork cooks, it also releases fatty compounds with a lower melting point than other meats, creating that distinct greasy smell. If you've ever walked into a house where bacon is frying and felt nauseous instead of hungry, your olfactory system is rejecting what others find appealing. This is genetics. This is biology. This is not in your head. Beyond genetics, there's what psychologists call the disgust sensitivity scale, and pigs occupy a uniquely uncomfortable space in the human mind. Pigs are famously scavengers. They eat waste. They roll in mud. They're associated with filth and unsanitary conditions. Historically, pigs were often fed garbage and lived in unsanitary conditions. This triggers what's called ideational disgust, even if the meat in front of you is perfectly clean, high quality, and safe. The idea of the pig's lifestyle activates a primal survival mechanism that screams, "Do not consume." Your brain doesn't care about modern farming standards. It's responding to evolutionary programming that protected your ancestors from contamination. But there's a second, more empathetic layer that separates pork from other meats. Pigs are intelligent. Pigs are scientifically proven to be as smart as, and often smarter than dogs. They solve complex puzzles. They recognize their names. They form deep social bonds. They show clear emotional responses and empathy. For many pork haters, this creates cognitive dissonance. When you look at a pork chop, your brain doesn't see protein, it sees something closer to a hand. You're experiencing what psychologists call a mini uncanny valley effect. The closer an animal's intelligence and social behavior are to our own, the more predatory and morally wrong it feels to consume them. Your aversion isn't weakness. It might actually be a highly developed sense of empathy that your brain has translated into a physical ick response. We cannot discuss the psychology of pork without acknowledging its history as the world's most forbidden food. For thousands of years, major civilizations and religions have classified pork as unclean. In Islam and Judaism, pork is explicitly haram or treif, forbidden, impure, spiritually contaminating. Even if you weren't raised in a religious household, these cultural shadows persist in our collective subconscious. We use language like pigging out, filthy pig, or hogging to describe our worst human impulses. The pig has been symbolically coded as greed, gluttony, and moral filth for centuries. When a food is culturally branded as the symbol of humanity's lowest traits for generations, the brain develops what's called moral aversion. You might find yourself hating pork not because of the taste, but because your subconscious has absorbed centuries of messaging that pork represents something morally inferior. Even people who leave their faith or grow up secular often carry subconscious programming that pork is dirty. The neural pathways formed in childhood don't just disappear. Your brain still associates pork with guilt, shame, or contamination, even when you're not actively thinking about it. Beyond smell and cultural programming, pork has texture issues that are uniquely triggering. Pork fat is different from other animal fats. It's softer, more gelatinous, and doesn't render the same way beef fat does. When you bite into pork with fat on it, you experience that soft, squishy, almost bouncy texture that makes you want to spit it out immediately. Bacon is particularly polarizing. It's either burnt crispy or fatty chewy with no middle ground. That chewiness can feel like eating pure grease. Ham has its own texture nightmare. Slimy, wet, unnaturally smooth in a processed way. It can feel rubbery or springy, and for people who hate artificial textures, ham is a deal breaker. Ground pork often has a mushier, wetter consistency than ground beef. When cooked, it clumps in ways that feel gritty or paste-like. If you've ever bitten into a pork sausage and felt that weird, dense, mealy texture, that's your sensory system rejecting it. And yet, despite all of this valid biology and psychology, you still face judgment. Bacon is treated like a cultural religion. People wear "I love bacon" merchandise. There are bacon-themed festivals. If you say you don't like bacon, people look at you like you're lying or trying to be contrarian. Holiday tables feature ham. Barbecues revolve around ribs and pulled pork. If you're the person who doesn't eat pork, you become the inconvenience. And because pork isn't a recognized allergy, people don't take your aversion seriously. They assume you're being picky, pretentious, or difficult. The pork paradox is a perfect example of how our plate is never just about hunger. It's a battleground of psychology, genetics, ethics, empathy, and ancient cultural programming. Trust your aversion. It's not a flaw, it's information. So do you avoid the pig because of your DNA, your empathy, or a deep-seated need for order? Or is it something else entirely? Let us know in the comments if you're a pork hater and why you think your brain has drawn that line in the sand. Thanks for watching Food and Psychology. Subscribe for more on why you eat the way you do.